This is Spiritual Souls Sliding Sideways, Chapter 17. I am great. I am strong. I am not wrong. I will win. This is my end. I wanted the safety life could have offered. Why does this life need to be so unsafe to begin with? Why does life have to be chaos and confusion? I wanted safety while being alive. I never wanted to face a world that overwhelmed me. I can only absorb so much of life, and then I need to move on from it. I wish I could take life in bites and then throw it away, like a mill that I did not want to complete. Why does life have to be so crippling and challenging? I never understood these things when I was young. I thought life had a plan for me. I felt life had a path. I needed to find it. I never realized how bad life could be all the time. There are happy times and there are times of joy. What matters is making it through those times that seem impossible to get through. I was never sure I was going to make it. I tried not to pay attention to what I was going through. I wanted to be free from the stress of life, or to be able to deal with it. It is amazing how life can warp us and change us. I could not believe how many things could change me. I was not sure of myself and how I was going to manage anything. I knew I needed a plan that I did not have. I needed a way to deal with a life I did not know how to deal with. I needed the perfect plan of defense. I needed to find the confidence I did not have. I needed courage in the raging storm. I knew that life did not offer time for me to get ready to face it. I knew that I was alone. I knew that what I needed to deal with was what I had to face alone. I did not understand how much I would need to face in life. I wished I had a better idea of how life would unfold. I wish I had known how I would feel and how that could mess me up mentally. I needed defense mechanisms that would surpass them all. I needed to be strong. We live in a world that does not care how we feel. The world demands that we comply. I needed knowledge. I would make it my goal to be as smart and as wise as anyone could be. I knew I had to be strong. I would need to keep the world out. Who has the strength to let the world in and still maintain normal functioning? I began the art of self-manipulation. I understood that the mind was only a vessel I could fill with information to manipulate. I never knew how hard it would be to change a mind and form new mental patterns. I knew that when and if something was repeated enough, the mind could relearn. I was going to be the master of my own destiny. I was not going to let the pressures of life win. I was going to win. My need was to master being the master. I wanted to be full of wisdom and intelligence. I wanted to pull the mask of illusion down and fool everyone. I intended to keep my true self hidden from everyone. I knew that if I acted smart, most people wouldn't notice a difference. I knew I needed to appear strong. I knew that I needed to create the illusion of a strong and intelligent person. I began my journey with determination and dedication to project complete confidence. I needed to be what I needed to survive in this world. The things we are never ready for in this life can be our greatest confusion. We can choose to appear ready because we have no choice but to move forward. How many people are ready to face the responsibility of life management? There is no trick to life. There has always been a do or do not do. The situation offers only two extremes. The struggle has always been real. The image we have of ourselves often contrasts with our true selves. The world does not care about our weaknesses. The world does not care if we are freezing to death in the cold. The world is a design defined by a function that lacks emotional warmth. The world tests us and molds us to see how much we can contribute to the system. The system is the repetitive life that sooner or later becomes mundane. The system is a thing that is like a monster with an endless appetite. When you can't satisfy something, no matter how much you give, you face a reality that always demands more. I knew how much energy I needed to rise above reality. The energy needed to survive reality seemed fantastical. I never thought I would become a narcissist. I was only trying to be strong enough and smart enough to manage life. I never knew I could try so hard that it was harder to shut off trying to be more. The many walls that we need when we face this world can become the prison in which we find ourselves. I used what I knew about manipulation and started to manipulate myself. Self-manipulation became its own machine. I manipulated myself without conscious effort. I learned to manipulate life so well that it took little to no effort to do what I needed. I thought I knew what I needed. I thought I knew how to face any challenge. I knew that a child who was crying lay buried underneath the false self-confidence. The narcissism was a way of keeping the child safe. I never had time to grow up. I grew up never understanding what life would require. The defense mechanisms I had created became so necessary that I did not know how to live without them. My trust levels dropped to zero because the person I could trust the most to take care of me was me. I became so self-involved that I thought that was all there was. I did not have time to feel bad for myself. I did feel bad for myself, but I knew it did not matter when I needed to do what was necessary for survival. The confidence I reflected was necessary for me to attempt to rise above my true feelings. I became someone on the outside I was not on the inside. I felt trapped in a world I did not need. A time came when I obsessed over needing nothing. I knew that needing anything was a human weakness. I knew that need alone was going to be the challenge of my life. The more I tried to not need life, the more I needed it. The stronger I tried to be, the weaker I felt. The more I tried to stand alone, the more I felt like I needed others. The confusion about what I needed to do and what I was really experiencing was considerable. Amid my swirling emotions, I was set on becoming a rock, strong and steady. I wished I had understood at the time how hard I was making it for myself. The effort to manage life felt forced and unwanted. If we don't genuinely want something and proceed with it, we will feel conflicted inside. I have lived long enough to know there is no way to please anyone, and sometimes even myself. The challenge of being strong was a challenge of acting like my needs did not matter. The biggest challenge of being strong was feeling angry and frustrated. I needed support, but I didn't have it. When you choose to be the strong one, then you will attract people who need strength. When you attract people who need strength, you become their source. When you become their source, you may not have a source of your own to turn to. The greater challenge is being a source and finding a source to be your source. How strong can someone be and not create an even greater need because of it? I developed narcissism from needing to appear strong when I was not strong. I had to keep up appearances. I knew I could not appear weak because I had become the source of comfort for the weak. When is being strong enough to let go and be weak for a second? Why is it so hard to be weak for a second? The world depends on the strong to keep going. If everyone took the breaks they needed, the world would slow down a lot. The world is the way it is because of supply and demand. The sad part is that sometimes we are the supply and sometimes we are the demand. We were born to play many roles in life. We are people who sometimes need and can offer what is needed. We are people who can give to those who need it. We are people who have needs. The cycle of what we do and what we do not do is a choice we make because not making a choice is still a choice. We usually want the world to be positive and happy. We want the world to be a well-working machine. The world places expectations on us that can overwhelm us. We usually want other people to meet our expectations. The world wants us to be strong and clever. People often expect us to function as a function, not as human beings. I found that people are happier to accept a lie than the truth. People often do not care if you are lying about being happy. People cannot deal with their own negative problems sometimes. Narcissism is a problem because the world needs us to be strong and brave. Some people may be born to take the world on, but for the rest of us, we are trying to fall in line. If you see a lot of narcissists, what you see is people fulfilling a role they don't want. The world brings us up through a system that tells us what we need to do to survive. The system uses us for what is needed to keep it going. If we lived in a world that only cared about what we needed, many things in life would change. I still find that at times narcissism is necessary to be able to stay positive. I wanted others to treat me as important. I knew that if I wanted others to treat me as important, I needed to treat them the same way too. We all want others to value us, and sometimes our actions to gain that value can become our greatest lie. Our greatest lie can be our dysfunction. The world was not designed to deal with dysfunction. People have treated any type of dysfunction in life like an inconvenience. As the world speeds up and demands on us grow, we create more narcissists. The stress and emphasis placed on living have always been super ridiculous. We can choose to face anything head on. We can go on and on, but how long before we burn out? What causes someone to experience mental and emotional exhaustion? Why does everything start to feel pointless when we can't find personal meaning? We all want to be special and matter, and when we do not, it is when we usually feel like a cog in the machine. I have found that to be more than a cog in the machine, I need to accept that I am a cog in the machine. I can't accept that I am a cog in the machine when I have to be. I can decide when to be a cog and when to be more than a cog. I tried to have self-importance to be more than a cog. I saw no benefit in being self-important. It drained my energy and didn't help me grow. I realized my need to be strong and brave was stunting my internal growth. I tried to do what I needed to do, but I only did it because my choices were to eat or starve. I have come to realize that I need to be happy. I needed to realize how to be happy while trying to keep up with life's demands. I came to understand that no matter what I did to meet life's demands, it would never be enough. I needed to be enough for me. I needed to be the best I could be for myself. I was trying to be the best at what I needed to do to survive. I needed most to not be a narcissist. I did not want self-importance if it meant giving myself more stress. I began to understand I am important regardless of my ability to survive. I needed to realize it is okay to keep guessing about life, and it does not make me less important. The road to true healing is to realize you are not going to win. No matter how many daily battles you fight, you will lose and you will die. We must understand that no matter what we do, we will leave our earthly achievements behind. We will take what we have learned from being alive with us. When we try to be more than we are, we miss getting to know ourselves, which makes our efforts in vain. I knew I needed to be happy existing. I needed to be happy for what I could do, not what others thought I could do. I needed to have peace with what was my best, not what others thought I could do better. I have found others will usually want you to do what they still cannot do. I care more about how well adjusted I am instead of how well adjusted the world needs me to be. The road to being a healthy person is to realize we need to slow down to find happiness. When we drive at 100 miles an hour, we zoom past beautiful scenes. We hardly have time to appreciate them. When we chase anything in life, we are usually moving too fast to enjoy it. I found that the faster I am moving, the more I am trying to avoid negative emotions and thoughts. There is no way to get away from the pressures in life. If we allow the pressures of this world to change us, we become puppets. The negative pressures we allow to affect us are how the world manipulates us. We need to be strong, but not so strong that we feel the need to not be who we are. We live on a planet where self-trust shapes how we express ourselves. We often worry about others judging or mocking us. We may want to conform to what we feel will help us best fit in. We may want to try to be the best chameleons we can be. When we choose to lose ourselves, when we conform to the world, we need to be able to incorporate ourselves into everyday life. We also need to spend time away from the world. We need to develop the ability to improve ourselves as individuals. We must avoid falling into a fake form of existence so we can protect ourselves from others. We need to be able to feel like we can breathe and still be okay with who we are. When we feel we must act a certain way to impress others, we fall into the trap of narcissism. We want inner freedom and outer freedom to be a place of growth, learning, and understanding. We do not want to feel like cogs in the machine. The world can be demanding and controlling. However, we can take charge of our lives by being honest with ourselves. When we lie to others about who we are also telling ourselves that it is okay to lie. When we choose to protect ourselves by conforming to the world, we suffocate who we are if we are in the world. We need to be free to mature and grow in a way that is healthier. The world may not offer a way for us to grow and expand in our own time. We can take the time to expand and grow every chance we get. We can choose to hide from the world. We can end up hiding from ourselves too. We can get caught in the windfall of becoming the lie. We can believe that the lie is always necessary to live life. We can choose to live the lie 24/7 so we never have to break character of who we are pretending to be. When we hide, it becomes the need to continue to lie to others about who we are all the time. We can take the stage and play various roles based on where we are. We can become true chameleons. We can change every time the wind blows. We can lose ourselves by playing every role there is to hide from life and ourselves. We need to learn to be who we are more times than not. We cannot grow mature by playing a role in life that is not who we are. We can only grow into maturity when we regularly embrace the role of who we truly are. When it comes to who we are and who we are going to be, we will not get there by pretending to be someone we are not. We should respect our thoughts. We should respect others. We need to maintain respect for our boundaries and limits. We should transform ourselves through maturity. We should not allow the pressures of life to shape us. We need to stay as true to ourselves as we can be. The world will change us sometimes and try to force us to conform. If we do conform, the world does not become warmer and kinder because we submitted to it. The world will always be what it is, regardless of whether we conform or not. The world does not change for the better or worse because we try to get along in it. We need to stick to our core values and not to what values the world is trying to place in us. We must be able to have the freedom that comes with being able to be ourselves. We can make the world less overwhelming. We can make it so the world is the way we need it to be by being true to ourselves. We need to realize how much our wants and needs drive us forward. The more circumstances force us forward, the more we do our best to conform. The more we conform, the more we lose ourselves to this world. The more lost we become, the more overwhelmed we feel. When we feel overwhelmed, we can act out. When we act out, it can be by taking our lives out on others in the worst ways. The world has always been overwhelming for everyone in a different way. No one gets through this life without some burden they take to the grave. There will always be checks and balances that need ongoing attention. The checks and balances we need to care about are how we check and balance ourselves first. It is good to learn how to get along in the world. It is good to be the best we can be at something. It is unacceptable to be the best at the cost of losing what truly matters. The world has always required sacrifices, even without our own. We need to maintain some form of self-identity. We have always known who we are. There is no real mystery about who we are. We are the combined information of the different degrees of elements that make us who we are. We can recall our spiritual identities. We can remember who we are when we focus on our core. We can focus on our cores when we allow all thoughts to filter through them. We can lose ourselves in the wave of society. We can forget that we were never that complicated in the first place. We are born simple and we will die simple. The emphasis placed on living and survival is an internal need to thrive and stay alive. We never needed to stay alive, and that is clear because we die. We can spend our whole lives trying to prove how capable we are. We could spend the time we have wasting our time on something that does not help us grow. We can stop growing the more we try to transform to this world. The hindrance to our growth leaves us immature. Staying immature keeps us fixated on goals that won't bring fulfillment. We can wrap ourselves in all the different things the world says we are and need. We can show the world we are not robots, but we are human and spiritual beings. The pressure and stress that can mold us and change us can change us for the worse. We can change from our true selves into someone who has too many demands and is overly possessive. We can seek control to such a high level that we are the only ones who see it as healthy. We must choose to stay as true to ourselves as possible, regardless of circumstances. To make positive changes, we need to think about what we can change and what changes have been imposed on us. We wake up each day with the challenge of waking up. We begin each day knowing we must interact with others and face reality. Often we take on more than we want to handle. We can try to find new ways to manage our lives better. We can become convinced that the right thing is to change for the world, for survival. Even if we lose ourselves to this world, there is always a way back from the fight for status and respect. Can we find a healthy balance that is somewhat manageable? There is nothing wrong with being successful in life. We can push until we are on top of the world. Feeling accomplished can be enjoyable. What is the truth about how we can live life better? There is a lot that goes into staying confident and feeling good about ourselves. We can only hope to adjust to a world that is ever changing and demanding. The only real approval we need is from the inside. No level of self-manipulation can compensate for our true nature. There is no need to prove we are more than who we are. We are who we are, and that is the most important thing. We can continue to learn. We need to realize that spiritual growth is always possible. If we think we are not good enough, we need to ask why we think that. What makes us good people? What makes us the best we can be? Who is the best we can become? We can only learn to be the best when we are true to our real selves. We cannot be a better us when the us that we are is pretending to be someone else. The time we choose to get back to ourselves will be the time we come to understand where we stopped growing. We cannot cheat getting to know ourselves. When we step away from ourselves, we stop advancing the real us. To find our true selves again, we must consistently grasp our real thoughts and feelings. We can understand our true thoughts and feelings by listening to our core. We can practice healthy, true self-love only when we can bypass the world, not ourselves. Healthy self-love is more important than being important to others. When we love who we are, we can love others as they are, even if from a distance. The motivation we find to live our lives in the world can come from many different sources. We need to see what is changing us and what pulls us away from true self-improvement. Without true self-advancement, we may move forward in the world, but we won't grow mature in what matters most, ourselves. We need to matter most at any given time in this life, and when we do not matter most, we will lose ourselves. We can matter and still let others matter to us when we have healthy maturity. We can become addicted to being the fake us. I have been as plastic as a Halloween costume. I have been as real as the core of who I am. I have tried living life in many directions. I have been many different me's because I stopped going in the direction of healthy self-growth. We must be willing to change our entire understanding of ourselves for a true reflection of who we are. Who we are at our core can be the greatest contrast to who we have become. We must rediscover our true selves when we have become narcissists. This helps us connect with our honest emotions, thoughts, and spirituality. When we conceal our true selves, we can lose spiritual intelligence, emotional insight, wisdom, and mental intelligence. These qualities help us solve problems. We can pretend we have no problems. This is when we have the most problems. When we become the biggest problem in our lives, we then must realize how we can change into our core self. When we return to our core, our true selves, we can begin to work on problems inside and out with growing maturity.